So this is awkward. Hospital baddie. We're 24 weeks today. Love that for us. Love that for baby Harlow. But long story short, baby Harlow tried to make a grand appearance last night. So let me put you in the story. Okay, so 2 nights ago now, 7 p.m. I had a weird discharge. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I called my OBGYN. I let her know what was going on. And she said, well, that's fine. Pregnancy hormones, things can change suddenly. That doesn't mean anything is wrong. But shortly after that, like literally from the time of me using the restroom to driving home, I started having pains in my back. So when you're pregnant, your back may just randomly hurt. It's not too big of a deal. And my pain never got too extreme, but in pregnancy, you shouldn't have prolonged pain. Okay, so I arrived home around like 7:20ish. From 7:20 until 10:20, the pain never stopped. And then I started noticing that the pain would come and leave, come and leave from 7 p.m. to 10 a.m. About 6 a.m. the same day, I started getting abdominal pain. So once that happened, and I kept timing it, because it was just slight, like it was like a little bit, like as if you have to pass gas, but like it's stuck. You know what I mean? So about 10 a.m., I'm like, okay, enough is enough. We need to go to the hospital. So my husband drove me down to the hospital. When you are, I think, 20 weeks pregnant, it might be 22 weeks pregnant, you no longer go to the emergency room, you go to labor and delivery. So as soon as I walked in, my stomach was noticed by the receptionist. She wheeled me up to labor and delivery. I told them what was going on. And I said it exactly like this. I said, last night, 7 p.m., I had about a tablespoon worth of discharge. And since 7 p.m. until this morning, I have been having pain that came and left. Immediately, they admitted me. They hooked me up to the monitors really quickly to look at the baby. And come to find out, those were contractions. Now, with this being my first baby, I had no idea that I was contracting. I knew I was in pain, but when I think about contractions, I think about screaming, yelling, can't breathe, can't walk, and none of those things are my issue. I was even able to get sleep overnight. I mean, it was uncomfortable sleep. I had to shift around, but I was able to sleep. So now I'm a little scared, right? Well, not every time, obviously not this time. I'm still in the hospital. We're still being monitored, but contractions lead to labor. And like I said, last night we were only 23 weeks and 6 days. And so there is a big difference between 23 weeks and 6 days versus 24 weeks on a developmental stance with a baby. So they're like, we have to do what we have to do to get you over to 24 weeks. So I was in the hospital in the triage from 11:20 to 6 p.m. about. Then they said, well, the contractions haven't stopped, so we have to admit you overnight. Up until about 8 p.m., the contractions still haven't stopped. So at this point, the contractions have been going consistently for 24 hours. And that's when the serious conversation started. Doctor came in, real delicate, real kind, and said, if these contractions don't stop, as I was contracting, my baby's heart rate would decrease with the contractions. So I would contract, and it would be a heel showing my contraction, and the baby's heart rate would drop. And that's not something that should happen as often as it was happening, because it can tire the fetus out. And so that's the concern for them. They don't want the baby to be tired out. So the OB came in and said, if your baby's heart rate keeps dropping and you keep contracting, we're going to have to do an emergency C-section. So several cervical exams, several ultrasounds throughout the night. And since, it's 24 weeks, my baby naturally is breached, right? Because it's not naturally ready to be head down and be delivered. So, yeah. Scared. I was scared. I am scared because I'm still here, obviously. To prepare me for surgery, they said they need to give me a steroid. The steroid helps to strengthen the baby's lungs so that if the baby does get delivered, they have a better chance of surviving. Then I had to take a magnesium drip in my IV. Show y'all my IV. Where is it at? There's the camera. In my IV so that it can strengthen the baby's brain development when they come out. And then I had to be put on a catheter because when you have magnesium, it makes you a fall risk and you can't go to the restroom. So last night was traumatic. Now from 10 p.m. to 4:30 a.m., I was asleep. I don't know what happened. Apparently, my husband said he went and took a walk to get a breath of air by himself, and he came back, I was asleep, and the doctors couldn't wake me up. Not because I collapsed, but because my body was just so exhausted that they were like, okay, she's stable right now, and actually, as she sleeps, the contractions are decreasing, so let's just allow her to sleep and monitor her in her sleep. This is what I was told when I woke up. So I woke up at 4:30 terrified because I'm like, did surgery happen? Because if you've ever had surgery, like, for me, you just go to sleep and wake up. It could be 24 hours have passed, and the last thing you remember is you getting put to sleep. So, I didn't have surgery, obviously. But that was my first thought. So the nurse came in. I guess she was on her 30-minute checks, checking on me, checking my vitals. And I had woke up at 4:30, so as I'm opening my eyes, she's opening up the door, and she explained to me what happened. She was like, you actually haven't contracted in a long time. Girl, as soon as she said that, 3 contractions, boom, 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 back to back, 2 minutes apart. She's like, we gotta get this under control. If this keeps going on, we're going to have to do a C-section this morning. I couldn't do nothing but pray at that point, y'all. In fact, I fell asleep again, praying and talking to God and my baby. Yeah. So I woke up officially probably around like 8 o'clock. And the contractions slowed down for like 2 hours. And they took me off of the catheter, the magnesium, and the monitor. But I'm still on medication, and I'll be staying another night so they can monitor the contractions for another night. And then they're going to do no medicine and monitor me for 12 hours with no medicine and see how my body handles it. So yeah, that's what's going on.